What's up, everyone? Ryan's here, and I have another Pedal Builder Reacts video. And this time is for the 68 Pedals King of Clone, which is supposed to be a clone of a King of Tone. So I have a couple references, pictures. I don't have a real King of Tone, but here's a picture of a real King of Tone. And I'll be sort of looking at the insides and comparing and contrasting the both. I'll be looking at the diodes and measuring those diodes real quick. And then I'll be talking about the schematic on why some of the components are carbon comp and why some are not, and what the high gain mod actually is years and years later. Alright, so let's just dive into it a little bit. Here's a little PSA. I was on AliExpress and Alibaba last night, and there is a company out there that is actually taking the Analogman name, King of Tone, as well as making the his little insignia over here. So be aware, if you're in the market to buy a King of Tone, to always ask for pictures of the inside, because it is pretty clear on the clone once you look inside. But on the exterior, I would be fooled, actually, to buy one, and I would hate for any of my fans out there to buy a ripoff when they were expecting to buy original for a lot of money. So anyway, let's just dive into the fit and finish. These knobs feel really good. I don't have a real King of Clone to compare to, but I like the pots that they chose. I'm going to guess they're alpha pots just based on the torque. High torque looks like they'll stay in place after continuous beatings with the foot switch. Alright, the LEDs are staying in place. They're not loose, which is cool. These switches actually feel really good. Sometimes that's the weak point on pedals, but this has a nice, solid... It's not a soft switch. Definitely not a soft switch. It's pretty close to like an alpha. What I say is the alpha ones are like the highest pressure required. This is a little bit less than that. So there you go. The jacks are plastic, isolated jacks. One thing I did notice is that the real Analogman will ream out the place where the screws goes, and why that is so it's a guaranteed ground. This screw is basically going to be touching the back plate as well as biting into the original enclosure, the bottom part. So it will ground out that back. Inside on the back of this is like foam. I don't know why it would be there, but I guess it's cool. And it is taped down. You can see the double-sided tape. I don't know what would be touching that. Maybe they think the battery, but that's what they did. Just for a test, I'm going to take my multimeter here and turn it on continuity. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to press the button so it makes a beep, so you can see a little beep. And we're going to test to see if this enclosure is grounded. So I'm going to take the ground here and just kind of touch on the inside of the enclosure. And it is beeping, which means there is continuity. It would not beep unless it's about 1 ohm or lower. So that chassis is grounded, which is pretty cool. Good job. Anyway, diving in a little bit more, upon initial inspection, we see some Nichikan Gold. These are audio grade, or at least they're marketed as audio grade capacitors. These are likely in the power supply section. The original looks like it has Nichikan, but not the audio grade. It could be a good grade too, but they're not the gold series, if that matters to some people. I'm not too familiar what this green capacitor is here, but it's likely just for the power supply itself. Yeah. Same reverse polarity protection as the original here. And we're looking at the chips, 4580. 4580 on the original. Pretty cool. Assuming that these are real chips, I don't know if anyone counterfeits, because anything can be counterfeit. these 4580s. But I believe you can still buy them new, so there's no concern that those are counterfeit or not going to perform as well as the real one. All right, looking a little bit more across the board, there is, so you're going to notice that there's some carbon composition resistors. These dark brown ones. It does look like the layout in the circuit board is going to make it easy for me to look and analyze and compare. So this is carbon composition. You see a carbon comp back there. Carbon comp up front here. Carbon comp. All right, let's take a look at the real Analogman King of Tone and compare. So we have carbon comp here, carbon comp here. And then that's not metal film, but you know what? 20K. I don't think it's going to matter too much. I also really like this high gain switch. So on the Analogman, you have to buy it with the intention of what do you want the gain channels to be. And after years and years, some people thought it was just changing out the gain pot to something else. But it turns out that, this was always like marked with an H to kind of throw everyone off. But it turns out that that's the same chip. It's largely believed that that's the same JRC 4580, but with an H across the top. And the only thing is, here's a schematic. It's that the gain was being changed from a 1K resistor to a 100K resistor to give you that high gain mod. So the high gain mod is simply just that. So we're keeping the pot the same, and it's just changing out that resistor. What's really cool about this pedal by the 68 Clones, and I'm not sponsored by anyone, by the way. I use my own money. Actually, I use donation money for my YouTube videos. So thank you all for who donated. This video is made possible by viewers like you. And then you can also donate in my link below to the video. These folks added a nifty little switch to add in a 100K or remove a 100K resistor, or just flip-flop between 100K and the 1K. So no longer are you bound by whatever you originally purchased on your King of Tone, but you can actually modify it here. These caps, these big brown caps here, like here and then here, are, I believe, the Panasonic, and they definitely look genuine, Panasonic ECQ-B, which is a polyester version of it. I don't know. They all look... it looks legit to me, which is kind of mind-blowing because I have a hard time sourcing these parts. And I don't think that there's too big of an aftermarket for making counterfeit versions of them, possibly. But those all look legitimate to me. Inside we see the presents. Pots are all the same. Dip switch. We have the same. I don't know. As far as those carbon comps, some folks might be like, well, what are those carbon comps? What position are they in? Do they do anything? Well, I'm not going to answer if they're going to do anything, but I'll tell you the theory behind it. So here's the circuit. And be aware that the pedal PCB version of the Paragon Overdrive, I don't know if it's selectable to 18 volts or not, but there is a charge pump. There is no charge pump in this version of the King of Tone. There's no charge pump in this version of the King of Tone. But you're going to see some of the aftermarket King of Tone clones out there that do employ a charge pump to get 18 volts for higher headroom and all those other buzzwords from this circuit. Some people like it, some people don't. But anyway, you're going to notice that it's pretty strategic that this carbon comp, this is carbon comp, and that's carbon comp. You're going to notice that there's nothing that's like connected or jumped, like kind of down here you see like this is up and around, over, down, up and around. This is doing some things. The signal has nowhere to go but to go through that resistor. It's going to go through this resistor and then also through that resistor. And and Analogman made the choice of using carbon comp in those spots. And it looks like the clone, because the layout is pretty much the same, is following the same exact thing here with the carbon comp selection, carbon composition selection. Mostly everything else is carbon film. You see some metal film. That's blue are metal film, tan are carbon film. The dark browns are carbon composition. They also are flat on the side. They're not molded quite perfectly. Alright, so I think that covers most of the insides and a lot of the same. I mean, there's not much more to cover here on the insides. You see like these, I think it's a polystyrene. Looks like the same over here. Everything's pretty much the same. Alright. Let's talk about diodes here because of the Klon Centaur, the diodes are always a point of conversation. These look like legitimate 1S1588 diodes, and these look like the real MA856 diodes. It just so happens that I have real diodes next to me, confirmed, purchased this way, confirmed by my multimeter, that these are real diodes. So what I'm going to do is try my best here to organize my very messy desk in a way that we can see the forward voltage drop of the diodes in this circuit and compare them to real diodes, okay? This is probably the biggest question that I have personally about this pedal is how close are the diodes? So forward voltage drop is basically dictates the amount of like compression, amount of headroom that you're going to get onto that into that signal, and you know, symmetrical, asymmetrical, blah blah blah. So that basically at that anything above whatever voltage this is will start clipping in a way that whatever the internal construct. So if it's germanium, that will clip one way, or has a characteristic to clip one way. If it's silicon diode, it'll have a different characteristic. So, and then in the Klon, there are germanium diodes. So here is our first test. I'm just going to kind of rapid fire go down the line. We saw 5.8 or 0.58 volts, 0.6 volts, 0.58, 0.58. So these 1S1588s look like, or at least whatever's in here, look like around 0.58 volts forward drop. Here's the test. So I got my real 1588, and let's see what forward voltage drop. Guess what? The same. So I'm pretty confident those are real 1588s in there. And I did not stage. I totally picked this randomly out of my bunch here. And it looks like we're in the same ballpark for sure. All right, so now these MA856s are pretty much unobtainium right now. I am having a hard time finding them. Not that I'm building many clones of these, but I have a few on hand just in case. And these are averaging around 0.7, maybe a little higher, 0.72. I'm just going to go ahead and touch my real MA856s and let's see how close we got. All right, 0.74. See if I can go down the line a little bit. 0.746, 0.747, 0.74, blah, blah, blah. All right, so 0.74, let me try to remind myself what I measured over here. 0.73. These are a little lower. I don't know if they'll make an audible difference personally. Let me check on the other side of here. 0.74. 0.74. So, I don't know. to me, I think that these would be just fine. Whatever's in here. It may not be real, or it may be within the tolerance. I'm going to have to check, and I'll get back to you guys on this video. But pretty interesting overall. I think that this is a really inexpensive way, and you don't have to wait in line for a King of Tone. I'm fairly confident that a lot of this is representative of the King of Tone circuit. It seems like it's pretty well built. These pots don't actually have a name on the back of them, so they could be anything. But they are just like the original with these super long leads. These jacks, I don't know if they're cliff jacks or something else, but it's kind of cool that you can replace them if you need. Battery, by the way. In conclusion, I'm pretty psyched about owning this pedal for right around $100. I bought this one off of eBay, and I feel a little bit better about it that it doesn't say King of Tone, because I don't want to fool anyone or, misdirect anyone. But interesting insides. Maybe I'll swap out with these diodes. I'm going to check. I'll write in the description below, as well as put an overlay on this video, what I find, what the acceptable range is for these MA856s, and get back to you if the .72s are... Well, actually, I'm not going to get back to you. I should be displaying it on the screen right now. So if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more, definitely hit that subscribe button. It would be such an amazing thing if you guys wanted to donate. That way I can buy more pedals and show them off. Right now I'm sort of trying to build my own line. This is an analog delay using MN3005 chips. Trying to muster up some capital investment to do more videos. So it's hopefully going to become a cyclical thing. Until next time, take care.